NFL will consider rule change allowing draft pick trades up to 5 years in advance. The Cleveland Browns are proposing a rule change that would allow NFL teams to trade draft picks 5 years into the future instead of 3. The league announced Wednesday that only 2 teams submitted proposals that will be considered by owners at the league meetings later this month, with the other coming from the Pittsburgh Steelers about contacting players during the free agent negotiating period. NFL executive Troy Vincent said last month that the Scouting Combine no team had submitted a proposal to ban the tush-push after Green Bay's proposed rule change was narrowly defeated last year. There were no other on-field rule changes proposed by teams this year, although the competition committee will announce next week its proposed rule changes. Any changes need to be approved by at least 24 of the 32 teams. The most significant proposal came from the Browns, who are trying to extend how far into the future teams can trade draft picks. Current rules only allow teams to trade draft picks up to 3 years into the future, compared to a 7-year window in the NBA. A new crop of general managers has led to more trades in recent years, and this rule change would make that easier in the future. There have already been 6 first-round picks from this year's draft that have been traded, with the latest coming earlier this week when Denver sent its first-rounder to Miami for receiver Jalen Waddle. The Browns argued the changes would lead to a more active trade market and greater roster flexibility. The NFL allowed teams this year on a trial basis to conduct up to 5 phone or video calls directly with players on other teams during the 2-day free agent negotiating period before the start of the league year. Teams previously had only been able to contact agents during that time. The Steelers are asking for that rule to be permanent, as well as allowing teams to make travel arrangements before the start of the league year with players who have agreed to terms for new contracts during the negotiating period. The idea that the NFL might allow teams to trade draft picks up to 5 years into the future feels, at first glance, like a small technical adjustment. In reality, it could fundamentally reshape how franchises think about risk, ambition, and identity. The draft has always been the league's great equalizer, a system designed to distribute talent and sustain competitive balance. Expanding the timeline of tradable pick stretches that balance across a much longer horizon, turning team building into something closer to long-term investing than short-term strategy. Today, general managers already walk a tightrope between present success and future sustainability. A team on the cusp of a championship might trade away next year's first-round pick for a proven veteran, effectively saying, "We believe our window is now." But with the ability to trade picks 5 years out, that declaration becomes far more dramatic. It's no longer just borrowing from the near future, it's mortgaging a distant one that may belong to a completely different roster, coaching staff, or even front office. This introduces a fascinating psychological shift. Decision-makers would be forced to think not only about their current jobs, but about the legacy they leave behind. A bold executive might push all the chips forward, trading multiple future first-round picks for immediate star power, chasing a championship at all costs. If it works, they become legends. If it fails, the franchise could face years of rebuilding without the draft capital to recover quickly. The stakes become generational. For fans, this change could intensify emotional investment. Supporters already debate trades and draft decisions passionately, but now they would be asked to imagine the team's trajectory half a decade into the future. A blockbuster deal might spark excitement today, but also anxiety about what comes next. What will this team look like in 5 years? Becomes as important a question as, can we win this season? The conversation expands, deepens, and becomes more speculative. There's also a storytelling element that emerges. Sports thrive on narratives, and long-range draft trading could create arcs that unfold over years. Imagine a team trading away its first-round picks from 2027 through 2031 to assemble a super roster. Every season becomes part of a larger saga: the rise, the peak, and eventually the reckoning. When those distant drafts arrive, the consequences of past decisions would resurface, linking eras of the team together in a continuous storyline. From a competitive standpoint, the rule could widen the gap between aggressive and conservative franchises. Some teams might embrace a high-risk, high-reward philosophy, treating draft picks like currency to be spent boldly. Others might hoard future assets, valuing long-term stability over short-term gains. This philosophical divide could become a defining feature of the league, shaping rivalries and identities. A win now team facing a build for the future team would represent not just different rosters, but different beliefs about how success is achieved. However, the risks are not purely strategic, they're structural. Allowing trades so far into the future assumes a level of organizational continuity that rarely exists in professional sports. Coaches are fired, general managers are replaced, and ownership priorities shift. A decision made today could bind individuals who had no part in making it. This raises questions about fairness and accountability. Should a future regime be constrained by the aggressive choices of its predecessors? Or is that simply part of the responsibility of running a franchise? There's also the potential for unintended consequences. Teams might find themselves trapped in cycles of boom and bust, swinging between contention and collapse. The league could see the emergence of super teams built through aggressive trading, followed by prolonged downturns when the bill comes due. While this might create drama, it could also challenge the league's commitment to parity, the idea that every team has a fair chance to compete. Yet, within these risks lies creativity. Expanding the draft trade window invites innovation. Front offices would develop new models to evaluate long-term value, blending analytics with intuition. They would need to forecast not just player performance, but the evolution of the league itself, rule changes, salary cap growth, and shifting styles of play. The draft becomes less about selecting players and more about managing time as a resource. In a way, this rule change mirrors broader trends in the world beyond sports. Businesses, governments, and individuals increasingly make decisions with long-term consequences, balancing immediate needs against future uncertainty. The NFL, often seen as a reflection of strategic thinking under pressure, would be embracing that complexity. It would be acknowledging that success is not just about what happens now, but about how today's choices echo through the years. Ultimately, allowing draft pick trades up to 5 years in advance would not just change how teams build rosters, it would change how they think. It would reward vision, punish recklessness, and amplify the drama that makes the sport so compelling. Whether it leads to greater excitement or greater instability is an open question. But one thing is certain: the game behind the game, the art of team building, would.